Well, I think we can all agree that Battlefield 6 has just about broken the internet for a bit here, hey guys. After coming back from the multiplayer reveal event in LA, I think I overheard that the Battlefield 6 category was #1 on Twitch for a little bit there, even beating out just chatting. I mean, that in of itself is impressive already. Clearly, we're all a bit excited for the game to drop, and I think a lot of that excitement really came from the news that was dumped on us, both in the official keynote, but also through just the hands-on time that we had with the game over the course of the past few days. Now that I'm back from my time in LA, I wanted to give you guys a quick little, basically rundown on everything we know about Battlefield 6 to date, including stuff from official announcements, as well as stuff that I figured out from in-game time. So getting some of the high-level stuff out of the way first, Battlefield 6 is set to launch on October 10th, 2025, with an open beta weekend running from August 9th to 10th and August 14th to 17th. In addition, there is an early access to the first beta weekend running from August 7th to 8th that is available to anyone that participated in the Battlefield Labs playtests or managed to snap up a key through the Twitch drops that ran over the course of the multiplayer reveal event. To be clear, you do not need to pre-order the game to get access to the beta, which I think is a massive move from EA here. There's no strong arming for pre-orders here, it instead relies on the game to speak for itself. Mega move. The game will launch with 8 core multiplayer game modes, which are classified into sections known as All-Out Warfare and Combat Zones. All-Out Warfare will include game modes such as Conquest, Rush, Breakthrough, and a series first called Escalation, wherein which teams will kick off by fighting over a larger map with multiple objectives, only for those objectives to decline in number, which intensifies the scale and the intensity of the fight. Combat Zones will feature Team Deathmatch, Squad Deathmatch, Domination, and King of the Hill game modes, of which will be played on small, cordoned off sections of the larger maps, which have been carefully picked to best host these smaller modes. In addition, we will see the return of a single-player campaign, which follows the story of an elite marine unit set in a gritty and dark wartime. Battlefield 6 is set in the year 2027. NATO is in shambles, with the US struggling to hold a grip on a destabilizing geopolitical environment. A large-scale PMC faction known as Pax Armata is gaining a foothold in light of the chaos and is beginning to represent a significant threat to world order. In addition, Portal is making a return in this game, which we're going to touch on in more detail later, and DICE have also started testing their take on a Battle Royale game mode in the Battlefield Labs experience, but I think we can assume that this mode is likely to come out at some point post-launch. Anyways, moving on to some of the actual content here, Battlefield 6 will launch with 9 maps, one of which includes a remaster of Operation Firestorm from Battlefield 3. The remaining maps will take place across Brooklyn, USA, Tajikistan, Cairo, and Gibraltar. At the time of the multiplayer reveal, we've had our chance to get our hands on 1 map within Tajikistan, 1 map in Brooklyn, and 1 map in Cairo for All-Out Warfare, with some respective combat zone maps to boot, and I imagine we'll see the same thing in the actual beta as well. I will say at the time of this video, the maps in this game are definitely on the smaller side for a Battlefield game, and certainly lend themselves very heavily into more the infantry side of the game. I have a feeling that we'll see some more vehicle-centric maps in the long run with the rest of the roster, but I also must be honest here in saying that I hope the smaller map trend that we've seen so far isn't consistent across the board, and we see some more, let's just say, vehicle-centric maps. Speaking of vehicles, let's talk about these real quickly. At the time of recording, and in the build that we played at the multiplayer reveal, there are light assault vehicles, IFVs, main battle tanks, attack helicopters, and attack jets. We've not yet had a chance to get our hands on things like, scout helicopters or little birds, transport helicopters, quad bikes, or even a diverse range of IFVs and MBTs as well. For example, there was only the CV-90 and the M1A2 MBT in the game. There wasn't a main battle tank or an IFV for each faction as of yet, which suggests to me that the other vehicles are still a work in progress behind the scenes. It may also be why we're not seeing too many vehicle-centric maps at this time either. Shifting gears to infantry gameplay, let's talk about the weaponry and the gunplay. The build that we played featured 15 weapons spread across 3 assault rifles, 3 carbines, 2 SMGs, 2 LMGs, 2 DMRs, 1 sniper rifle, 1 shotgun, and 1 pistol. I can say from experience that every weapon that was in the build felt somewhat unique and like it had a place in the game from an identity perspective. There was a pretty wide breadth of weapons being picked by players in the multiplayer reveal as well. Of course, there was one really dominant weapon in the build in the form of the shotgun, but the developers confirmed with us over the course of the event that the shotgun was bugged, which was causing it to perform well above its intended use case. This will hopefully be addressed before the open beta goes live, and if not, I honestly kind of hope the devs opt to bench it, because I don't really want that thing dominating the open beta like it did in our test session. Obviously, we'll be expecting more weapons to make an appearance in the future at the game's launch, and the devs so far have hinted at possibly 40 plus weapons at launch, but the exact size of the game's launch day armory is yet to be confirmed. Now, more broadly, the game's gunplay is underpinned by something DICE is calling kinesthetic combat, which is a system that has been built from the ground up to improve the way weapon handling is communicated back to the player. Basically, it's a way of saying they've enhanced the gunplay. This includes how recoil patterns and bloom are felt as you fire the weapon, and I gotta say, it's produced what I find to be a really healthy gunplay system. I've seen a lot of complaints online that the gunplay is overly laser beamy, but as someone who has had some hands-on with it, I dare say that's not a really accurate description of it. The multiplayer reveal was filled with some of the best FPS content creators in the world who know how to wrangle weapon mechanics and also meta farm the way out of attachments and certain weapon builds. There are weapons in the game that right now do feel like absolute laser beams. The Ultramax as well as the AK-205 are clear contenders for this. However, they are also very low damage output, which kind of counterbalances that benefit. Obviously, as we see more of the armory, we'll see how deep the gunplay system is, but I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't think we've got a whole lot to worry about here. When it comes to combat, movement also needs to be discussed here in Battlefield 6 as well. Battlefield 6 introduces a bunch of new movement mechanics to the game, such as dragging players as you revive them, combat rolls when you jump from high locations, and the ability to sprint while in a crouched stance. Wall mounting also makes an appearance in this game as well, which I actually managed to put to good use a couple of times before the wall I was mounting got completely obliterated by an RPG in my face. In addition though, we also have the return of the slide mechanic, which has sparked some vigorous debate online as well. I'm actually going to do a bit of a deep dive into the movement mechanics and how it affects the game in tomorrow's video, so get subscribed if you want to see more on that front, but I will say that hands down, I see a lot of people blowing this out of proportion. Obviously, Battlefield 6 also returns to a classic class system, with Assault, Engineer, Support, and Recon making up the offering here. With the build we played in the game, the class system utilized an open weapon system, with every class having access to every weapon category in the game. However, DICE will be testing the closed weapon system in the open beta, which will restrict ARs, SMGs, LMGs, and sniper rifles to their respective specialties. Classes, on top of their gadget offerings, also have perk trees that will unlock over time as you earn XP with your squad through a match. Some of these benefits are incredibly strong, but eventually you'll also be able to activate a one-time use ability. As an example, this is a UAV that remains online for a short period of time for the Recon kit. Once you use this final ability, if you will need to unlock it again before it can be used later on in the match through earning more XP. I will say that all of the classes definitely felt pretty strong in all of their own regards in this build of the game, but we've also got a lot more gadgets coming to the foray as well, which is only gonna further amplify how strong the classes can feel and, what they can offer to the battlefield as well. We'll be doing more of a deep dive on classes as we get into the beta and closer to launch, and really sort of try and pick out some really cool combinations you can run with these things. As a fun little note here on the side, dog tags are returning for knife kills, and I already know I have a couple of scores to settle after this multiplayer reveal event. I'm coming for those tags, lads. Destruction is also back in a big way for Battlefield 6 as well, which is good to see, given it was lacking big time in 2042. Buildings can not only be completely leveled in this game, but they also leave significant debris behind that changes the flow of the map and introduces both new forms of cover, but also new ways for you to traverse the map as well. No more are there maps just being left as barren wastelands after 5 minutes of players completely obliterating them. There's a sense of story to the maps as destruction takes hold over them, which is such a nice pace from 2042. But alright, Portal. Portal returns in Battlefield 6 with improved AI, improved scripting controls, but most importantly, a map editor. Players are now able to take the maps that the developers bring to the game and manipulate things such as props and potentially objective placement, spawn placement, the works, to create whole new experiences. Some of the things we saw in the multiplayer reveal trailer included a gauntlet mode that saw players dodging things flying down a hill, parachute races, jet race courses, and one-shot kill mode. modes. Portal will return with a server browser that allows players to save and search for their favorite experiences, and I also envisage this will get used as a means to create vanilla but browsable base game experiences that don't rely on the default matchmaking tools. DICE will be rotating highlighted experiences on the front page of the game, similar to what they do in 2042 as well. Honestly, it looks like an insanely powerful tool that gives a lot of control back to the players like it did in 2042. It will be interesting to see what the community can come up with. I'm kind of hoping it's not just a whole list of, 1000% damage Desert Storm simulator servers. If I wanted to do something like that, I'd just go play Squad instead. But I know that we'll also be running a few community nights using the tools in Portal in the future, so stay tuned for that as well, folks. Crossplay and cross-save will also be available in Battlefield 6. However, the developers have confirmed that the matchmaking will prioritize aligning players based on their input of choice, which I know will be a big breath of fresh air for players on both sides of the fence. I will say, based on the experience I had in the game at the reveal event, keyboard and mouse and controller players seem to be on pretty equal footing in this one. There's no absurd aim assist while also remaining somewhat competitive. I was being domed by controller players, but I was also not noticing that they were able just to spin bot me with auto rotational aim assist. It was a nice touch to see. It also means that yes, you can still leave crossplay on and you'll still prioritize getting matched up with people of your input. So not a bad thing to see there either. Two final more things I want to touch on in this video that more speak to the admin side of the game as well, guys. Anti-cheat. Anti-cheat is of high priority for DICE, with a lot of work going into developing their in-house Javelin anti-cheat, which is designed specifically at countering first-person shooter-based cheats at the forefront. Secure boot on PC will be required if you want to play the game, however, so be prepared to switch that setting on if you do plan on playing Battlefield 6 on the PC client. I believe it has been confirmed that if you would like to play the game on PC as well, you will not need to use a third-party storefront other than Steam. So to my fellow Steam lovers out there, you guys should be celebrating at that news. And lastly, and a big one I know for so many people out there, microtransactions. DICE have made a commitment online in saying that, yes, there will be microtransactions in this game, and there will be season passes and ongoing events that do bring new skins and stuff into the game, but they intend to maintain that this is a modern-day military-themed shooter, and the skins will reflect that. I think that is a massive, massive sign of good news for us in the long run in making sure that this game remains an authentic military shooter. But with that news out there, I also think we need to hold DICE to account on that and ensure that nothing slips through the cracks that breaks the thematic theme of this game. Only time will tell if they maintain that promise, but I, for one, plan to hold them to it. But folks, with that all being said, that is everything you need to know ahead of Battlefield 6's open beta this coming week. Once again, it was an incredible experience going off to go play the game early at the LA multiplayer reveal event, and it's also just bloody great to be back home again, if I'm being quite honest with you guys. More streams and videos are coming very, very soon, so get subscribed here both on YouTube and follow us over on Twitch to keep up to date with all the content we're doing here. I'm also thinking about maybe bringing the YouTube streams back and doing some multi-streaming. Let me know if you guys are keen to see that down below in the comment section down below. Also, like the video if this was helpful for you guys at all in getting up to speed with everything Battlefield. Until next time though, I will see you all in the next one. Peace out, guys. Have a good one.